So let's begin with the introductions first. Per Andersson, Head of Secretariat, Lead IT. Welcome. We also have Peter Dahlen, Managing Director, American Chamber of Commerce in Sweden. Welcome there. Jens, hi, Chief Economist, SEB. And Ola, Public Affairs Director, Stegra. And Eric Enneker, CEO and co-founder, Ecometrics. Sophia, unfortunately, has fallen ill, so she wasn't able to join. But we can get started with our panel here. We have about 30 minutes, so we'll try and make it snapped fast. Yeah, and so let's start with the question on AI as an accelerant, or is it a complicator? And people might have different views on this, so I'm hoping to draw from your experience. Per, I'll come to you first. Lead IT is an industry transition partnership, which we heard from the State Secretary and Ambassador, started by India and Sweden, focused on industry decarbonization. Now, are you seeing an increase in AI being leveraged among your member organizations within the core industry, or is it still sort of at the fringes? And you yourself, within Lead IT, how is it being used? Two questions in one, yeah.
Thank you very much, Rupali, and also thank you to the Engage India and the Indian community here to the university for the, I think we have for the third time, so thank you for bringing us all together. It's a fantastic location as well. For us, first of all, I should be humble, especially standing next to the real industry. I represent only the Secretariat, but the lead group is 19 countries. Less Poland has joined now in the morning. We are 32 companies for a mandate within a just and equitable transition. What we observe, of course, is in the last 3-4 years, the enormous push factor that the India-Sweden relation has had on the group. So just last week we were in South Africa with India and Sweden as the co-chairs. So that's a kind of the political drive for partnerships. On AI, of course, and here, once again, not an expert, but of course he will drive technical and human-like development in the years to come, and it has already India being one of the fourth runner. 3 things: better, faster, and more accurate, maybe. Better in the sense that I'm sure the real industry will speak to that as well. The optimization of processes. For us in the decarbonization industry, can we optimize and use less energy? Everybody wins. In the sense of being faster, of course, we would like the AI products to learn exponentially, even for the decarbonization. Can we apply? Can we duplicate? Can we learn faster? Is also a win for us in the industry space. Accuracy, that's maybe an area where we see the rollout of carbon pricing, taxonomies, both in Sweden and India. What is here to be learned about how do we evaluate, how do we measure carbon pricing, how do we measure the emission actually? So all these things that it was before quite difficult, cumbersome to report on, how is that going to be in 4 years' time? Just imagine the speed this will go. You always come back to energy in the end. The data storage, the data processing is energy intense as well, so in itself it's energy intense industry. Can we get the mix right with fossil-free energy as well? That is a win-win. When it comes to the Sweden-India partnership and AI, of course, there's a huge potential now. Both Daniel and Ambassador Bushen have spoken to it. The EU FTA, the Sweden-India strategic partnership, both have AI inclusion. AI summit in Delhi was a success. Many people and many actors are working after that as well. Should I say something on defense of the humans? And an observation is that it's remarkable if you visit companies like some of the represented here, how many Indian experts are in these companies. So I wonder if not the human travel coming to Swedish industry, going back, and the reverse, Swedish engineer going to India and reverse, that kind of combination between exponential AI development and human to human. I think somebody spoke to that as well. How we interact with AI tool, what we learn the tool to do will be key. I'll stop there.
That's interesting. I'll pick you up on that a little later. And let's move on to Jens. You sit at the intersection of economic forecasting and capital allocation, really. And AI is being positioned as a productivity driver for industry. We will also hear it from the other speakers here. But where do you actually see it showing up in the numbers? Is it still a promise, or are you seeing performance really in the graphs?
Well, certainly the AI development is already contributing to growth, but so far it's mainly contributing by the investments in themselves. So all the investments into the software and the programming and also into the hardware data centers being built everywhere. And since investments is part of GDP calculations, so an increase in investment leads to higher GDP. So it's already contributing to growth. But that's not really what we mean. As you point out, we want to see it in the productivity numbers. We want to make sure that this new technology also helps all the other companies around the world, not only the ones who are investing in the technology, help them perform their jobs better and more efficient and more productive. And I would say the jury is still out there. We certainly see signs of it already, but maybe not to the extent that it actually lifts the sort of global GDP growth rate in any significant numbers yet. I do believe that it will, but so far the true impact on GDP so far and growth so far comes from the investments, the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars being invested into this. That is a growth enhancing activity itself. Productivity remains to be seen.
And so let's ask the industry itself. Ola, Stegra is building one of the world's large-scale fossil-free green steel plants. What role does AI play in making it viable? And is it sort of very early stage for you, or are you actually problem solving with AI?
I think I'm the public affairs director, so I'm not sort of in the tech team, but sort of ideally you would have the AI agent here responding and transferring sort of what my tech colleagues told me, but I will try to do my best. I'm only human. But I think, they describe it as we are in a bit like a perfect storm. We have like excellent opportunities. Sort of, as you said, we're building the physical factory but also with people and processes, but also we need a digital ecosystem to help us not only run production, but also being able to run the business. So this is sort of, as we are a new company, we have excellent opportunities to enable AI use already from the start. So I think we can also, data is one thing, but also we have the perfect opportunity to design also the metadata, the semantics around the data, but also how all the systems are connected. That's also, so I think ontologist is the term used, how data is connected. We can already set these things from the start. So I think in that sense, it's really have opportunities. On the other side, where you really can create, as you say, ideally in industry, that's the purpose is to enhance the business value. So, but then you need to really enhance the business value. You need sort of to know exactly what the process is that you are optimizing. And that's, I think, we're designing the business processes as we also use AI. So in that sense, it's more challenging maybe for us than a company already up and running in production. So I think already now, AI is mostly used in our DG teams. In the business development already now we have AI agents in units working together with human governance, but them working together, creating new code, new systems. But of course, within sort of a boundary that's been set by humans when it comes to safety, security. Our way of working, our way of design. So we're already using it now, but of course, once we have the business ongoing and we get production data, we can then of course use the AI also in all that parts to improve both the business in various ways, but also the production.
So I'm going to actually, Peter, before you know, I know you have a session yourself, so I'll bring you in for a minute, and then sort of you can run to your session. Sorry for the delay. But there has been a lot of, and I'll jump to you now. So there's been a lot of talk about AI sovereignty, and I think that's something which was an interest area for you. How does the American Chamber and your companies really view it? Is it trusted in the interdependence a better solution for you, or do you think sort of sovereign AI is the way to go?
I think trusted interdependence is the only way to go, because no country, no company is going to create the industrial AI stack that's going to be sustainable and reliable. So it's got to be with trusted partners. And this is the way we look at sort of every question in the transatlantic relationship. It's more opportunities for collaboration. There's a lot of disruption, to be sure, but it's a $9.8 trillion economy between the United States and Europe, and 16 million jobs. There are friction points, but lots of areas for opportunity and growth, and this is certainly one of them when it comes to AI stacks and the State Department's initiatives on Pax Silica and the recent US-Swedish technology prosperity deal. These are all very positive developments where our members, both Swedish and American companies, see a lot of opportunity for collaboration and growth. And I should preface everything I just said by underscoring that we are an independent trade association, one of 130 around the world, so fully funded by our members that pay dues, primarily American companies in Sweden and big Swedish companies with a US presence. So we work very closely with the Swedish government and the US government, but we're not part of any government. Mm-hmm. And I also want to apologize for having to run off, but in typical Almedalen fashion.
But that's typically Almedalen, isn't it?
So we have I have to kick off a program in the American Garden in like 5 minutes. So, but I'm really grateful for the invitation, and happy to have any follow-ups with anybody after.
And thank you for actually sort of staying back till 5 minutes to your own event, but have a good one, and we'll continue the conversation. Coming to you, Eric, I will touch upon the bit about sovereignty and AI, but looking at it from an industry point of view, how much is AI really being leveraged in your innovation? And you all are literally recreating the recipe, if I understand it in layman terms, for cement and
concrete,
the concrete and the sector as a whole.
Well, I think it's a couple of things. One of them is basically concrete and steel and some other industries. You have to be a little bit careful because you don't want things to fall apart, and you want things to be. So I think trust is basically what needs to happen a lot now. I think the technology still there has some problems with the technology. You have hallucinations. You have other things that happen, but I think that will sort of those wrinkles will pretty fast come out. But at the end of the day, it's people that need to trust it, and I think that is back to that question we just talked about. That is one of the trust questions that all constantly comes up. Where's the data host? Who's actually have access to this? This is confidential information that I sit with. All those kinds of questions you have to address. Yeah. Otherwise, you won't get the trust. You won't get the companies to want to start using this awesome technology. But it's also about trusting sort of, okay, I have 30 years of experience doing this. So we work in two areas. One is basically, are we doing the right thing? And the other one is like doing this thing even better, right? So automation is one, and the other thing is just smarter things. And going into an engineer who's been doing concrete or cement for 30 years and saying, maybe you should do this differently. This AI comes in and tells you that you've done something that could be different. I think that is something that you need to trust and you need to work with because it's people. So I would say that is really sort of the next step in order to get really full-fledged impact. But I just want to say that we're in India, Sweden, and we work with transition, and the transition happening in India, I think is pretty good ground for sort of implementing AI at scale and quickly, because it needs to happen.
We'll hear a little more about that perhaps next, but I also want to bring in Jens into this, the trust factor. And there is capital inflows. You just mentioned that in your first response, that there is a lot of money being now sort of pushed and to drive AI innovation as well as into our lives. Financially, when you make projections, how much of it are accounting for the AI factor, especially when it comes to sort of growth rates, how the financial markets are going to do? How much of this AI factor is into play or will be into play?
Well, if we start with financial markets, clearly it's now both driving financial markets, especially the stock markets, perhaps also to some extent the interest rates, and especially coming from the Federal Reserve in the US, they are, and especially the new head of Fed, Kevin Warsh, he's very much putting his trust into AI, saying that this will drive down inflation, and thereby we can also have lower interest rates, and we won't have a problem. That's sort of one part of the story, and you know it's helping right now. It also obviously creates some risks because there is a discussion out there whether or not these valuations of the big AI investing companies, if it's a solid or if it's perhaps overvalued, and that it might end in tears, 1 quarter or 5 quarters or 3 years from now. We just don't know. But obviously it has a huge impact on financial markets right now. In terms of the real economy and growth rates, we are not really adding a sort of AI factor into our growth forecasts going forward. Some banks are, especially some of the big US banks. They are already saying that, well, for every forecast we make, we will add 1 percentage point or something like that to our growth forecast, because we do believe so much in the AI productivity growth. So we think it's safe to do that. Maybe I'm just sort of old school, I don't know, but I really want to see it before I believe it. I don't really doubt it, but it's very hard to see whether or not we're going to see those effects in the next 3 quarters or in the next 10 years. And I really want to have a clearer view of when this is gonna happen. And it also come back to this trust issues. I mean, both Erik and Ola, they're trying to do something new, and it takes the market and the actors and the participants to believe that it can actually work. Otherwise, it won't work. No matter how the genius the idea is from the beginning, you really need to convince people that this can work and it's going to be a good business. And for me, for example, who was actually visiting Boden and Stegra just the other week, I can encourage everyone to go there. It's super cool. It's actually looking almost done. I know it's not done yet, but it looks like it's gonna work fantastically well. I think it's a solid business opportunity, but that's just me. And you need to convince people around the world that this is going to work.
Well, we'd like to visit as well someday, so I think we're
You're
going to invite
welcome.
ourselves to visit. But moving to sort of the India angle also. Now, Stegra's model does have implications for Indian steel at scale, right? What does Sweden really bring, what India needs, and India can also bring what perhaps you need?
I think already now India brings a lot what we need. We have a very large Indian community among our own employees. Also a lot of the sort of early joiners of the company with a lot of technical skills were from India and sort of had great experience both from India but also from Middle East, working with the iron making process that we are using. It's the process they have sort of experience with is based on natural gas, but it's quite similar to the one we are now using with hydrogen. So that expertise is already now has been absolutely crucial for our company and the development we have had. I think going forward, there are many lessons learned. I think we can learn from the countries as being also a leading company. One thing is sort of running these mega hydrogen projects. We don't know yet if we were going to be the largest when we start operate or the second largest. It depends who's fastest, but clearly one of the largest large-scale renewable electric hydrogen-based sort of companies. And just running such a system, there will be a lot of lessons learned, I would say, where also AI, if used in a good way, it could really improve sort of efficiencies and lessons learned. So I think that would be a value for the product that everyone could harvest. Of course, we will try to harvest this in our way also when it comes to our own business, but it probably large part of that would also be sort of common knowledge that can be shared also to other industries as well.
What about you, Eric? I think you also you have a project ongoing in
two
India.
actually. Yeah.
Two. Okay, tell us about that. Yeah.
Well, one is in concrete production, and the other one is we're just starting that with cement production, using AI to sort of optimize what you're doing in the plant. There's a lot of things happening in the cement and concrete market right now, new ingredients coming in, and there's a lot of learning that needs to happen, which makes the pace quicker, which means you need to have support. And I think to your point, is like the knowledge transfer and the knowledge transfer learning, I think, is one of the key aspects of AI, because actually what it's all about is human has evolved because we can transfer knowledge between generations, right? Otherwise we would still be hunting. But AI will make that so much faster within the organizations, across countries, across borders, and there's a lot of knowledge on how to do things better in order to transition. And I think AI will really speed up that process, making things a lot quicker in terms of time to market, so we can reach the net zero goals that we've actually set for ourselves.
All right.
I guess the challenge is that it goes both ways, though. I mean, yes, it can help you learn faster and develop things faster, but it will also help all your competitors. And they will very soon, with AI, figure out how you're doing your stuff, and they're gonna try to copy it. So I guess it's speeding up, but it's speeding up in both directions. So it's also increasing competition.
It is, but I think survival of the fittest. I think the companies that will collaborate and will be a little bit more transparent. I know that there's a lot of issues, so we're handling that for our companies and clients, so we don't spread their secrets. But I think as a general rule, I think a little bit about learning and transfer learning will help. If I have a company doing something really smart in Sweden, an Indian company could probably use it, especially for concrete and cement, which is very local. Right? You don't compete with someone producing concrete. It's 3 hours. You have to pour it after, so you can't really push it over the borders anyway. So, but I think it's true for everything.
And so my next question actually is more towards Per as well as Jens on how do we make AI a climate solution rather than it eventually becoming a climate problem a few years down the line? We've heard the good things. Now let's hear something critical.
I guess one critical thing is the energy on the processing side of what's happening. Are we just moving an energy to another field, another sector where we can't see it? That's the fossil-free, the access to the clean energy that many have spoken to before. One other thing is maybe, and all people are alluding to that, is that seeing is believing. So the first project, so we have a bunch of projects that is supported, in this case from Sweden and India, to do feasibility study. Eric and his guys are one of 5-6 projects. The amount of publicity these relatively few projects will have got is enormous. I don't think there's 1 week where we don't present this anywhere. As we speak, there's a team in London presenting this a long time. There's the appetite to know more when it functions is enormous. And the other part is to actually see it. So we brought a delegation of 10 countries up to Stega, Norrbotten, a few months ago. The acceleration just by seeing and meeting real people is enormous. And if you can get that in the AI community, we can really tangible results and get the partnerships right. I do recognize that it requires maybe both strategical partnership in the big corporation sector, but not to forget about the SME sectors. How do we apply for the smaller companies that are not a huge steel company, maybe a smaller cement company or things like that? These, I think, will be key components.
Interesting. Jens, how do we make it a climate solution going forward? I know that you've not yet you're still hedging your bets on where the markets will play out or where the the growth will happen, but
yeah, I'm an economist, so I will always hedge my bets. We're born with that gene. But no, I mean the whole promise of AI is about productivity. And what is productivity? Well, productivity. If you improve productivity, that means that with the same or even with less resources, you will be able to produce more. And resources in this context will be either manual labor and labor participation, or capital resources, natural resources, whatever. So, of course, in the AI lies the promise of also climate solutions, because we will not need as much material, capital, and labor as we would otherwise need to produce whatever we need. So, I mean, fundamentally, it should be a good thing. But, you know, I absolutely agree right here and right now. Just the fact that we, you know, if you ask a question to ChatGPT, that will take, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 times the energy compared to ask Google the same thing. You get a nicer answer, but is it worth 10 times more energy? I don't think we have really sort of put a cost or a label or a price on that yet. So right now, I wouldn't say it's a huge benefit for the climate and environment, but it certainly can be if it means that we, in a population where we don't really have the increasing sort of numbers anymore, or increasing populations, and we don't want to use more natural resources, then AI should be able to optimize both of those things.
Okay, last words before I get the signboard.
Yeah, but also, I mean, I mean, we need to build infrastructure, data centers, etc., to really get the innovation and the improvements out there. But at the same time, we also need to find a balance, because right now also the industry requires electrification to push the decarbonization. And so we need to, I mean, the data centers can't take all the new electricity available. We need to find a balance, because it needs to go both ways. Also direct electrification and decarbonization of the industry right now, but also further improvements through the data centers and AI sort of
Any challenges?
use of AI.
Yeah, and any challenges to these thoughts?
Well, I think it was sort of the market economy will also sort of take care of some of these things, because right now you are heavily subsidizing the use of AI. It's a lot more cost to it than what you're actually paying, and I think that will sort of make it the usage go down when prices go up. It's like basic economics, and then what you'll have is basically people using it smarter, which will actually automatically reduce the carbon footprint. We're constantly doing that every day, reevaluating so we can sort of be smarter in terms of using AI. Bigger doesn't necessarily have to be better.
Well, interesting, and thank you so much for sharing your perspectives. We'll end this panel discussion here, but the conversation, of course, continues on reinvention of the industry in the age of AI. So thank you, gentlemen.